Why is cinema etiquette just gone, ruined, never to be recovered? Like, genuinely, since the end of lockdown, I have never encountered more people that are a problem in the cinema. And I'm someone that goes to the cinema like, it's minimum usually at least once a week, but it can often be twice. And as far as I'm concerned, there are two very basic rules. They're easy to get your head around, and if you can't understand them, you probably shouldn't be allowed to leave the house or use any cutlery that isn't a spoon, to be honest. But it's 1, stay off your phone, and 2, don't speak. And yet those two very basic rules seem to be a real struggle for all but the most, I don't know, astute individuals, and I think it's crazy. I tell you what, nothing makes you more aware of problems in the cinema than when you go to the cinema really very frequently. You get to a point where before the adverts are even done, you can judge the people around you and determine whether or not they're going to be a problem. Here's like a red flag. Here's a massive red flag as to somebody that's going to be a problem during the film. It's when they are trying to speak to the person that is immediately next to them louder than whatever the adverts are. Because think about how loud those adverts can be and how unaware of your surroundings somebody has to be trying to speak over them. Not aware that like somebody, 2 feet to your right should be capable of, hearing you. Like, talking during the adverts, fine. Being on your phone during the adverts, also fine. It's when the film's on that the rules start kicking in. But usually if somebody's going that out of their way to be heard during the adverts, they're not going to stop when the film comes on, 9 times out of 10. Next up, another red flag is when a big group of people comes in late. Today I went to see Sting, and the cinema was dead. There was no one in there, except for, like, me and 3 other people. But then, maybe about 10 minutes into the film, another group of people walked in, 4 people. And shortly after... Hello? Not trying to... And shortly after they walked in, they were talking as they found their seats, and it's like, I don't understand what thought process you've got to have to walk into the cinema while the film is on, knowing that there's going to be other people already watching it, and not be embarrassed, especially if you're being loud. Like, I would know that I was being a hindrance to those around me if I walked into the cinema late and be ashamed of getting in their way or making noise or otherwise distracting them. You wouldn't catch me dead doing it. This is going to sound a bit crazy, but genuinely, before, me and my girlfriend have not gone to the cinema. Bearing in mind, we're Limitless members, so it's not really the end of the world if we miss something. We can see it another day. We have gone on a different day rather than being a little bit late, because we don't want to miss any of the film. And again, just nah. I would no. And it's funny, right? Even when I was a kid, my nan used to tell me that I would shush her in the cinema. So when I was like single digits of age, my nan was the only person that ever took me to the cinema, and I would shush her as she spoke during the film. It was something that me as like a 7-year-old understood. I've got no idea what like the first film I ever saw in the cinema was. I would love to know. The oldest films that I can like remember going to see in the cinema, I'm not sure which one was which in terms of like year of release, but it's The Chronicles of Spiderwick, it's one of the Harry Potters, it's Spider-Man 3, which is actually in cinemas again in a few months' time, and I'm looking forward to it because I'm going to go and see it, and it's going to be very nostalgic. My nan died last year, so like anything that I can do that feels nostalgic towards her, I always will. Hence, like going to her old house yesterday. But me as like a 7-year-old understood, film on, be quiet. It's not that hard. And yet, still, I go to the cinema 10 times. Maybe 2 out of 10 there'll be somebody that's really, really very annoying, and it's insane to me how people don't get it. And I truly think that lockdown is to blame, because there are genuinely people that don't understand that this is the basic rule, that you just... because they can't stay off the phone. They can't stay off the phone for a couple of hours at most. Like today, the film was an hour and a half. What, you can't stay off your phone for an hour and a half? Is it really that simple? I've had people say before that they can't get off the phone because what if they get something important? If you're awaiting or expecting something important, then you shouldn't be in the cinema full stop. And it's like, yeah, if you're going to go on your phone, somebody better be deceased, because otherwise what's the... Like, there's no other good excuse. I remember when I was a teenager, I went to see X-Men Days of Future Past, and there was a guy in front of me, and he kept answering his phone in the cinema. And I was too young to do anything about it, of course. I wasn't going to say anything to like a grown man, or what I assumed was a grown man. It was probably just a 20-year-old. And let's be real, most 20-year-olds weigh like 60 kilos. So, you know, they'll shut up when you tell them. But the guy kept answering his phone, and the guy to his right was not a member of his party. I remember this very, very clearly. He answered his phone, and the guy was like, bro, what are you doing? Stop it. Second time he answered his phone, the guy was like, bro, seriously, if you answer that phone again, we're going to have a problem. And then after that, guess what? The third time he answered his phone in the middle of the film, now they're having a fight in the middle of the cinema. And I just remember thinking, I want to be just like him when I grow up. What a hero. Like, I'm very quick to throw out a shush or a shut up. I don't care, because in the cinema, as far as I'm concerned, everyone's thinking the same thing. Everybody wants to watch the film in silence. Everybody wants to not be distracted. It's the whole reason you go to the cinema versus watching a film at home. At home, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to worry. But if you're... What is this lobby, bro? These guys are just not moving. I'm just wrecking. Oh, come on. I didn't know I was this close. Ha! Didn't matter anyway. Anyway, so these guys had a full-on fight in the middle of the cinema because this guy wouldn't stop going on his phone, and it was good times. But as far as I'm concerned, like I say, I'm very quick to tell someone to shut up and get off the phone in the cinema, because 9 times out of 10, when you tell them, they will. I don't think I've ever told somebody to get off the phone or shut up and they haven't. Not once. It's because it's embarrassing. Because if you're in a cinema, and bearing in mind, right, the cinema that I go to, it's an Odeon Lux, so there's not that many seats in the first place. It's not a very big screen, none of them. So it only takes like one person being a ball bag to ruin it for like 20 other people. It isn't like when you go to a huge screen where somebody can be a ball bag, but they're so far away from you that you can't hear them or see their phone screen. In these screens, if they're on their phone, it's very, very obvious. And if they're talking, you can hear them. And I just know that everybody else is sat there thinking, God, I hate that person on their phone. God, I wish somebody had told them to shut up. And most people won't. But at this point, I go to the cinema that often that I don't care. I don't care. Just get off your phone. It's just not rocket science. But I truly think it is partially down to lockdown's fault that things are the way they currently are. I've completely gone the wrong direction here, haven't I? Look at my kills, by the way, compared to the rest of my team. I'm on 22 versus no one else has got more than like 9. Are my team just that bad? I'm barely even paying attention. But it really bothers me that it's so difficult to understand. And I've made videos about this on TikTok so many times about people just being off the phone. And people say that I'm a Karen. And I don't get how the person that's telling... No, like, that's the opposite of a Karen. A Karen is a person who thinks that they are the main character that ruins it for everybody else around them. That's like just a dick of a person, right? That's a Karen. The person who stops somebody annoying everybody else in there is not a Karen. They're doing a good job. Like, I would be happy if somebody shushed somebody. In fact, all the times that I've shushed somebody, I've never seen somebody else shush somebody since that day when I was a teenager. And I go to the cinema all the time. Like, I think my Odeon Limitless is about to get to 170 visits or so. And that's in the last, like, 3 years, I want to say, since they changed the system and it, like, reset. I just don't understand how that guy is the only guy that I think's been able to kill me so far. Literally the only one. Also, if you guys agree with me, do be sure to like this video and subscribe. And if you're somebody that thinks it's okay to be on your phone in the cinema or okay to talk, you weren't raised right. And there are genuinely people that think that it is. Genuinely, there are 2 demographics here that people that think it's okay to be annoying in the cinema fall into. One, really very young people. They're the ones that I think lockdown failed because they didn't learn how to socialize properly in real, like, their formative years were spent locked inside. Like, I got locked up as like a 22-year-old, so I'd already had a few years out and about. But like, if you were like locked up when you were like 16, 17, 18, I can see how that would have been a real problem, you know? Am I going the wrong way again? Do I keep spawning in and going the wrong way? I feel like I do. And then the other demographic is like middle-aged people. So if any of you have ever worked retail, you'll know that, like, typically the biggest problem members of the public are not usually the young people. In the cinema, it is often young people. But in retail, it's often middle-aged folk that are just very, very entitled. And someone's going to say that I'm entitled for wanting the cinema to be quiet and people to not be on their phones. And I've genuinely seen people say before that they've paid for their tickets, so they'll do what they want in the cinema. Like, that is genuinely a line of thought some people engage with. And again, people have just been failed. Like, the fact that there genuinely are people that think that because they've paid for a ticket to the cinema that they can do whatever they want. It's like, no, you've paid for a ticket, but you still have to work under the rules that have been set in front of you. I've seen people say, oh, it doesn't say anywhere that I can't be on my phone. And it's like, yes, it does. It doesn't specifically... Well, first of all, it does, if you actually look at the real rules. But the passive-aggressive rules that it gives you to not be in your face about it, it's like, there's an advert that plays before every film where it's like, we're here to watch the film and not be distracted by somebody else's phone screen. That is the film telling you, get off your phone. That's what that's saying. It shouldn't have to say, you, get off your phone, for that to be very clear. And to be fair, it used to. I remember before they changed the advert, it was less vague. Now I think they're trying to not offend anybody because of the fact that the cinema industry is dying because nobody wants to go. But I think this is a big reason why. Like, a big reason why the cinema is dying is... A, it's expensive. Like, if you didn't have a limitless pass, like, this is what's mad to me, is the price of the things. To go to this cinema, to see one film is like 20 quid, right? And then assuming you get drinks and snacks, that's another, say, 15 quid on top. Because, you know, popcorn and drinks at the cinema are expensive. Everybody knows that. So, say you've spent, like, just for you, never mind, like, your party, 30 quid. Why am I constantly running the wrong direction? Say you spent, like, 30 quid to go to the cinema. Imagine that then you think... Oh god, hang on. Let me focus on this. This is a lot of people. Why are these guys, like, completely unaware of my existence, but my own team can't beat them? Oh, shit. Oh, that is the enemy spawn. I was going to say, why are there so many of them? I'm 37 and 12 right now. We're cleaning house. But I can't imagine spending all that money to go to the cinema and just to be on your phone the entire time. Is that not mental to anybody else? Like, no? Like, you've paid 30 quid to go to see a film and watch a film, to have an experience. That's what the cinema's for. Like, in reality, I've got a 4K 77-inch OLED TV where I can watch a film and it not be a... Like, I can create near enough a cinema experience in this room. But I still like going to the cinema because it's an experience. It's why I'm going to go and see Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 when they're out in a few weeks. Fun fact, they're all being reshown, by the way. Every single Spider-Man film is back in cinemas in a few weeks. But pay that much money to sit on your phone the entire time. It's ridiculous. And do you know what else, while I'm nitpicking, is another bit of a problem recently in cinemas, is Apple Watches and, like, smartwatches with the rise to wake function. Because every single time somebody lifts their hand to their mouth to have a drink or to eat the popcorn or whatever, their Apple Watch or equivalent, the light comes on, and often they don't think to turn it off. And I'm like, I don't understand how they're not getting annoyed by it. Because, right, have you guys ever been sat in an otherwise dark room where the only light is coming from in front of you with the screen, and then something to your left or your right screen comes on? Doesn't matter what the brightness is set to, it's bright enough that it's annoying and it's in your face. I think it's crazy how little people are considerate of others. Because that's my thing, is I always try to be very considerate of the people around me whenever I'm doing anything ever. Very polite to people, always were. So I don't understand how people can go in the cinema and just think that it's okay to do the things they do. These people that I'm moaning about. It's ridiculous to me. But yeah, interesting rant, I suppose. See you in a bit.